understand the requirement, because the regulatory requirements are not for the startups. The regulatory requirements are across the board. Fourth is something that the industry needs to really work with the government is, a policy consistency, transparency, and a roadmap. I think here we are talking about so many things, but at the end of the day, what you need is a transparency, clarity, roadmap, that this is how the policy is going to look like in the next 5 years. And this is what the government plans to deliver in terms of policies and other infrastructure in the next, 5 to 10 years. Because unless there is a roadmap or a policy clarity, every day you are worried what is going to happen to us. And that is something which affects your ease of doing business. But the struggle that World Bank is having this year to take out the country ease of doing business indicators also mean that, there are problems. May not be in India, maybe across the world, but there are problems which we need to really think about. From a company perspective, I think, if there are 457 companies, I can't even remember 10 to 12 brands being working in the direct selling sector. So how do you develop your brand? How do you market your brand? How do you do your brand loyalty? That brings you to the question of the quality, visibility. Those things are absolutely important. And how do you go beyond your direct selling industry? I mean, direct selling industry, talking in a direct selling platform is very fine, but how do you actually talk in a much more wider platforms and take yourself out into a much more wider gamut is very important, because others beyond this group are not very aware of the good part of the industry and bad part of the industry also. They always hear it as a pyramid scheme, Ponzi scheme kind of a thing. They don't hear the positive contribution of this sector. The important part, the positive contribution is, of course, the contribution to the women, the empowerment. In future, in future, there will be a lot of employment in the mode of self-employment. And direct selling, they talk about employment and the government get confused because it is a form of self-employment. It creates a majority in terms of self-employment and independent entrepreneurs. If we come out and say that very clearly, that we are creating entrepreneurs, we are creating investment, and there is a more data-driven, evidence-based policy making. Here, the problem is we don't know how much investment is made by the sector in the from the domestic sources, from the international sources, how in what kind of categories, how many SMEs are linked to the industry. So the data in this industry is so very fragmented that we do not have that information. If there is a system of a regular data collection, even through a survey of companies by the organizations like ASSOCHAM, and that data can be analyzed and presented, you will be able to much more present the contribution of the sector, which I think is getting a little kind of backstaged because we do not have that kind of data. We are very weak. There is a lot of women. There is a lot of these things. That is kind of that is not data driven. So if and I think the data will also make you much more captured in newspaper articles and in social media. You will immediately get the data and the kind of space that you need in a digital world. So one of my suggestion would be to have a data-driven policy making, to also show the good practices, code of conducts. They will be part of the data, and to show the regulatory and the policy gaps and what is needed from the industry, from the government. And you need to prioritize your list, but don't put in a complete laundry list. And I mean, like for example, you have to delete certain things which government cannot give. Like, please give me direct funding, please delete. But if you need a product, if you need a kind of a banking product, or SIDBI has to come out with some certain products for the SMEs which are linked to this industry, please suggest that. Please give a little bit more innovative suggestions which enables the government to take forward some of your suggestions into its own policy making. This is all from me for now, and I can come back with further questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Arpita. Definitely point very well noted. And of course, there is a complete lack of data of MSME, and the data which I have is also very, very old. So there was no point sharing that data. Hence, we just ensure that, we just talk about how it is benefiting in the larger context. Since you spoke about, suggestions which should come, I'm requesting Pramod, if you could take lead, lead, Pramod, on ensuring to send us some particular suggestions which we should ask from the government directly to Mr. Rajora, and then of course Mr. Rajora will take it forward from there. So now moving on, I would now like to welcome our chief guest, Mr. Anil Bhaguna, former Joint Secretary, Department of Consumer Affairs, to deliver the keynote address for today. Sir, we have a lot of hopes from you, and we really want to learn a lot to ensure that we get some kind of stability in the industry. Both Harpita and me have been working in the industry for very, very long, and we are just blowing the same trumpet again and again. So if we get some direction, maybe we will be able to improvise and lead the industry to a better format than what we are today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ASSOCHAM and Chavi, for extending this invitation and giving this platform to share with very illustrious members of the industry and the industry association, as well as the academia. I believe Dr. Arpita Mukherjee, has been working in this area for a long number of years. In fact, to tell you very honestly, uh, to me and to many of the people, direct selling was embed Tupperware. It was like a retailing model that, instead of brick and mortar going to store, you have a representative who comes to you. And it also gave me an impression. I was abroad and I saw at one place there were a large number of women representing Mary Kay, a cosmetic company. And
Yes.
they were very proudly wearing their pink suits, and each one of them had a dream in her eyes that someday she will own a pink car, someday she will visit America. It adds to the family income, and they live a better lifestyle. They have the luxury of traveling here and there with family. So it was like, a homemaker also dreaming of improving the lot of things in her life. And I believe that Protection Act, because that act has a provision of making rules for this. So once this thing comes up, obviously the interest of the industry to some extent, and consumers by and large, because the Department of Consumer Affairs will be consumer centric. Their approach will be pro consumer. The consumers, before they engage with the entity, they should know what it is. So, what you were mentioning, I think Dr. Apita also mentioned, and before that, Mr. Pramod also, that there is a list of about, somebody said that it's not known how many entities are engaged in the business. The companies which have been not even registered, I would say, whose declarations have been accepted and lodged in the portal of the department are roughly about 450, 52. Because now the thing is that I'm not privy to many of the things. I'm not in the service, nor am I part of any association. So what I come to know is from my colleagues or I read somewhere. Whereas roughly 950, 59 of the companies had sent their information, their particulars, to be lodged on the portal. So basically, many people still confuse it with registration. They would come to us
Yes.
also many times. They would raise a query to me that, I have not been registered. I said, it's not a registration at all. It's simply an information to be hosted on the website of the department so that a consumer has free access to that portal of ours. He can or she can see that where you stand, whether you have any cases against you, because people again would complain. The local police would come. We also told the state governments, I remember that, why don't you prepare your own model guidelines? Only 13 states have done it so far. As far as nodal officers are concerned, only 30 states and UPs have done it so far. So sometimes, these must be some additional charge with somebody, the person may not be dedicated to this. So they may not even have time. They would go by some, say that this has happened, some input from somebody, some complaint, and it becomes an issue. So once the rules are in place, perhaps, things would be much better for the industry, for the consumers as well. And also, I would suggest that, basically, rather than pinning too much hopes on the government treasury, because now things are different. You see, even the DA has been frozen. So the priorities would be somewhere else. So to expect that, government will outrightly finance startups, things like that would be. It may happen after 2 years, 3 years, as Dr. Kamakchi has said, no doubt. And it is something which should be supported because this is truly one area which offers tremendous opportunities for generation of jobs, which is the biggest problem today. And also it can be a driver for creating demands as well. Because the thing is that if you have income generation, only then there will be some demand, and then one can talk of logistics and supplies. As far as the export potential of this sector is concerned, no doubt there is definitely, because so far the understanding of an average person would be that direct selling entities are into food supplements, vitamins, and cosmetics and things like that, because that's where the most of the leading names are, and that's where the people interact most. There might be so many other areas which need to be told, that direct selling entities are engaged in. And of course, quality is one thing which has to be first and foremost. Even now, domestic survival will be dependent on quality because people are very judicious in spending now. And even online, they first make sure the reviews, what kind of quality reviews and comments are there, how good they match the standards. Even if you're exporting to Europe, you have to match the Senelec standard. If you're sending it to Germany, then you have to, apart from Senelec, meet their standards. Or even toys, something like that, which you might be making in India. The thing is that the standards are very, very regulations, are very rigid. So we have to match those standards, those regulations to be competitive. The only thing is that as a pressure group, you have direct selling associations, a couple of them. You have chambers of commerce and industry, whether they are ASSOCHAM, FICCI, others, they can act as a pressure group and see that the guidelines which will take shape of the rules really address your aspirations of the industry, of the consumers. That would be the first thing you must do. And secondly, also work out a roadmap for the next 3 years, what kind of assistance will be required. And it should be something doable. Otherwise, it will be a wasted effort. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I always felt that this, uh, you know, segment of the industry has tremendous potential to grow, to not only add to the GDP, but also to add to the employment, not only directly, but also through its cascading effects. Because you will be having production units and so on and so forth, supply chain, packaging, and everything will be employing people. So that way, it's a great opportunity. And I can only say that with these initiatives, what we have taken, they should go on further also, because discussion now it's not possible face to face and it's not even viable. It's better to have it on a webinar or on these mediums, so that it's very quick, fast, and very economical as well. So with this, I thank you again and wish you all the best in your efforts. And thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, thank you so much, Mr. Anand, for giving us the direction. We will definitely take up your points, and ASSOCHAM will reach out and ensure that we go in the direction which you have advised. Definitely, once the rules will be made and the Consumer Protection Act, which has come into place, will definitely strengthen the industry, no doubt. But as you rightly pointed out, it will be consumer centric. What we are looking at now, as even Arpita said, that it has to be little operation oriented, so that we have more clarity regarding operations. The direct selling guideline was a huge step because it gave us a definitional clarity. At least we are there in the law books somewhere with reliably low price. How many times it is seen that some direct sellers themselves contaminate the market by doing so. Of course, we are aware about it, and about these things are done by the direct sellers. Will the direct selling organization take steps to safeguard the interest of the entrepreneurs associated with the industry? If yes, what steps would be taken? Will the direct selling organization take steps to safeguard the interest of entrepreneurs associated with it? So this question is to you, Pramod, since you are the one who's dealing with this and logistics. So how do we deal with this? I will, of course, add to your answer. I have had some experience dealing with the companies on this, but first I would like to listen from you. How do you help the people who are coming on the website and they see the same product at a lower price on an e-commerce website? You're not audible, Pramod.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, we all
Yeah.
can hear you.
Yeah, I think e-commerce and direct selling, in my view, have to go hand in hand. You look at the big day sale that Flipkart does. Probably what the entire direct selling industry does here in India, I think they do it in one great day sale. That's the kind of potential in e-commerce. And in the light of this pandemic, I think everybody wants to go through digital transactions and e-commerce. So therefore, it's a necessary evil. We can't say that we have to be, we can't go to the e-commerce. That means we are missing out on a huge opportunity. That's what globally also, if you see, there are a lot of hybrid models which are coming up, which you will see in the next year or two, where they use the fundamentals of direct selling superimposed on the e-commerce model, which is the way the future is going to be. And today in India, if you talk to anybody about direct selling, maybe 1 in 7 or 1 in 8 would be interested. But what about the rest of the people who are already on an e-commerce, purchase, mode? Now, if we are able to integrate the direct selling with the e-commerce, that's the way to go. But having said that, obviously we'll have to face these challenges of direct sellers, going on e-commerce and having this price war, underpricing, which the right word used was contaminating, which will undervalue the brand and create unhealthy competition. But that is, I think the respective companies will have to handle those, have stringent measures. I think even if you have the electronic companies or the telecom companies like mobile phones and all that, you could have some dealers probably underpricing them extremely. But I think there are some regulations in place where the companies control those kind of unhealthy practices. So I think the imperative lies on the individual company, but I think it has to be governed by a forum or a council, as some of our panelists have suggested. That come what may, the companies cannot say that okay, I will do the way I want to do it, but they have to abide by the law of the land, but also by law of the the industry which has created a forum. And therefore, I think within those norms you can play around, but I think trespassing and going beyond that should not be allowed. But at the same time, we cannot, be blinded by the e-commerce potential. If we're doing it, the direct selling industry is going to lose out on it. So therefore, I think the marriage between these two has to happen. That's what I strongly believe. If we are not doing it, I think somebody else will take the advantage. The direct selling industry will be the loser if we don't do that. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Pramod, for your answer, and I'm very happy that you took this view of integration, because we both Arpita and me, we had recommended this recommendation of integration almost about a decade back. That sooner or later we will have to accept this and move forward. Arpita, I believe you want to add to the answer.
I would like to add to the answer, and what I need to actually talk about is, see, when we talk about prices being lowered. So let's consider a direct selling company and the same product being sold through a e-commerce platform, and the price is lower. In India, we have a MRP-based model of pricing, which is by itself fairly outdated model, but it was created at a time for protecting the consumer. So there is a difference between the MRP and the cost of manufacturing. And then if there is below the cost of manufacturing, or it is a kind of a predatory pricing situation, there is an anti-competitive regulations. Now I need to understand from the direct selling companies that how far they have looked into the anti-competitive regulation and whether the regulation is addressing their concerns or not before they blame somebody else to sell it at a lower price, because price competition is healthy in a country. We also prefer price competitions, right? When we do our shopping, we look for discounts. So therefore, there is a healthy competition and there is an unhealthy competition. And where we need to really focus on is the unhealthy part of the competition. And if that is happening, where there is an anti-competitive practices, we definitely need to take a strong position on that and we need to leave the healthy competition to operate.
Yes, I fully agree with Mr. Arpita. I think the underpricing primarily happens because of the front loading which some companies do. When you have a primary front loading done and you don't enable that distributor to do the secondary in terms of through training and so forth, retailing, that's when the products get stuck, and especially nutrition and cosmetics which have limited shelf life. Now that is when they resort to these kind of measures of trying for a clearance kind of a liquidation kind of an approach, which leads to this unhealthy competition. Again, I would say the emphasis lies on the respective company, but I think the company should be wary and cautious about, a bigger body which might take punitive action if it is, repeated. The companies cannot, in the garb of, being, free to do what they want, cannot get away. I think that regulation within the industry, if not by the government, should happen so that, everybody abides by the, the guidelines, the internal guidance the industry comes up with.
Thanks, thanks, Pramod. Now I'll move on to Naresh. Naresh wants to add something to this because this is very, very critical for the direct selling industry. This question.
Thank you, Chavi, for giving a chance. I would suggest, like, actually, there are generally the plans how you promote your products. It's on bulk buying, people get incentives. And this direct selling concept is actually not of bulk buying, is actually creating a self-users. And when we give incentives in bulk buying, this undercutting always happens. So we need to design a plan so that a person actually does direct selling, but not by lifting the product and making stocks in their cars or in their van and become a salesman. It's not a concept of becoming a salesman. It's a concept of creating a network and direct
Very well.
base. We need to create a community of user base. Use whatever you want to use it for your family and recommend to people that this is a right product or it's a quality product. It's a business of recommendation from where you can directly get it from the customer. That's the major reason when you find most of the company products available in the market at price what you're getting from the company, it's much under that. And this is a major challenge in our industry. So we need to design something where we should not get any products or get any major incentives just for lifting products or motivating anyone to buy bulk buying. So bulk buying is a curse for our industry. Yes, the moment a sale is done, but it spoils the total industry. Giving an offer is for using it. It is not an offer for a product. You can buy 100 dozen of particular product. No, you should have a check about that. Okay, why a person is buying so much of product in single year? What is he doing with the product? Is he actually creating a user base, or he is spoiling the market? We need to understand that, and I think we should give it thought about the plans or the offers, whatever the e-commerce company or direct selling companies are doing it. We need to have a check on that. So I think that's my suggestion.
Yeah, absolutely agree, Naresh. This was a very nice suggestion. Yes, we are the direct selling industry is based on building this network. I will just share an example. Like we all know the media houses. So when media houses has a sales department and they have people, in the same manner, every direct seller, you yourself are an organization for yourself. So the simplest way of explaining direct selling is that the direct selling company or entity has outsourced the business of selling to public at large. So every public person who joins the direct selling business is an entity or is an organization by itself. And they should follow the law of the land as it is for entrepreneurs. Then only we can get more credibility and also more support from the government. Other thing which I wanted, there's another question.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Actually, there's the awareness of the law is not there. That should be publicized in such a manner that every person should know the law. And unfortunately, everyone comes up with a new law. No one is aware, or we don't have any sites or places where we can understand what the law is, because we actually did not have any law. There are only just guidelines which has come in. I've been for the legal chapters also earlier, but where we could understand there's a lot of difference. People could not know. We said there are some schemes which are Ponzi schemes. People don't know what is the difference between a Ponzi scheme and a normal scheme. What's a scheme? What's a plan? They don't understand. Positioning of, like we have different plans. Positioning binary. What is that? People don't know. So that awareness, that education is required. And the law, whatever the law or the guidelines are, should be published in such a manner that every person from a rural sector or from the urban sector should know it, or it should be displayed in companies or it should be a disclaimer which should be declared in
Correct.
the websites also.
Very nicely
That's
pointed out.
my suggestion.
And Mr. Rajora's team, SHM, I would really ask that, we have had a very good discussion today, and these points should be noted and we should take it forward. The last thing, I would like to add is regarding this, that, SHM should take the lead in having a common platform for the e-commerce companies and direct selling entities, and see how we can resolve our own ambiguities and form an operation based, which is self-regulation, which works on self-regulation, helping everyone, the consumer, because that is number one priority. If they buy only, then we are in business. Otherwise, we are not in business. Number two, the direct seller, who is the one who's selling the product every day and is the one who's facing the consumer every day. And of course, the entities and the e-commerce companies. So that is the only way. Bridging the gap between the e-commerce companies and the direct selling entities is the way forward for the growth of both the industries in the future. There are many questions I would like to ask Mr. Rajora. Should we continue, or we would, because there are about 3-4 more questions. So do we have time to ask, or what is your advice, Mr. Rajora?
Yeah, I think we can take up 1 or 2 more questions and then we will close it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rajora, for giving us some extra 10 minutes.
Hello.
Thank you, Mr. Rajora, for giving us these extra 10 minutes. There is Mr. Raj Gopalan, he has written, if more direct selling is taking place, what will be the future of large number retailers in our country? Arpita, I would like you to take this question, and then I will subsequently add to it. If more direct selling takes place, what will be the future of large number of retailers in the country?
I think India is a large market. There is an echo. I think India is a large market to accommodate both direct selling as well as retail. But direct selling is not devoid of retail. These are different modes of retail, and India is a large market to accommodate. And how much is available in the market, that depends more on the economic growth. Like if you saw that the growths are slowing down, even major brands that are globally, they are closing down their stores, right? So, but in future, you would see the store-based retail formats are giving way to non-store formats. Even when we did retail ages ago, there was a huge cry when about the impact on unorganized retail of the organized retail, and now unorganized retailers are also going into platforms, going online. So and home delivery mode was always there. So I don't think that the retail industry is very worried about the competition, as long as there is very high growth. When a competition is more about lobbying with the government, but in terms of their survival, if there is a high growth, if people are earning well, the India's per capita income is rising, consumption is rising, there is no survival issue. Market is still unsaturated. I think you are muted, Chavi.
Yeah. Thanks for unmuting me. Thank you, Arpita, for a very valid answer. I would just request Mr. Rajgopalan that please don't doubt about the potential India has. We are shoppers. Many years back, and even now, when we go abroad in UK, the Harrods store, the maximum number of sales happened by Indians who were traveling to UK. So be rest assured, we are a country of shoppers, and we like to shop. So there will be no dearth of direct selling entities, and there will be no dearth of direct sellers. This I will also say from the opinion that, long time back, there were also doubt about big malls coming in, and they were doubtful what will happen to our Kirana store. All of us sitting together are still equally dependent on the Kirana store, which we were 20 years back. The difference is that our Kirana store has become more savvy. He's giving us 30 days credit, then he's taking a credit card and he's also delivering at home, which no Walmart or no other organization can do. So stay happy and be content that, you know, there is a lot of scope in India and that there's a lot of future. All the points which were given by all of you will be taken up, and Rajodaji, we would like to have your support in taking this forward. Look forward. In fact, it is because of this forum that, you know, I have started doing a lot of things, because there was a request that, you know, there should be some interaction with the direct sellers. So every Wednesday through Facebook and YouTube, I am doing a lot of sessions for the information. So all the people who are joining, you are free to join on every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And I do a lot of interaction over there, whether there are questions, because this is a limited forum. So we will end it right now, but you're most welcome to write to our SOCHM and we will answer. All the panelists are there to support every question which we get. So over to you, Mr. Rajora, and thank you, panelists, for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone. On behalf of ASSOCHAM, I convey my grateful thanks to our Chief Guest, Mr. Anil Bahuguna. Thank you, sir, for being with us. And I also thank Dr. Arpita Mukherjee, Madam Chavi Ahmed, Mr. Naresh Dikshit, Manish Gupta ji, and Mr. Pramod Manda. Of course, Vijay has left, and grateful thanks to everyone. On behalf of ASSOCHAM, again, thank you everyone, all the participants. Thanks.
And we are also
Thank you.
thankful to our supporters, Vestige India Limited, for supporting that we are able to continue to do these webinars. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.